It's a privilege to be here, and if you want to open in your Bibles, if you have one with you, or your phone, which I don't consider a Bible, you can do whatever you want. Isaiah 53 and verse 6 is God's summary of what all of us struggle with. Basically, most of you know it by heart, right? Let's say it if you know it. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned everyone to his own way. There's our problem. Every one of us are hardwired to want our own way. That's how we come into this world. That's why babies go, eh. I mean, those precious little smiling cherubs, they want their own way. And they get bigger, and it's not as overt, but it gets deeper. We want our own way. And when we get our own way, God doesn't get the glory. Did you know God is only glorified when His will is done? Now, what most people don't realize is even the wrath of man praises God. He is getting glorified. But when our lives benefit by God being glorified, it's when we humble ourselves. So this week and these 2 days and parts of 2 other days, we're looking at how to practice, how to make a lifestyle, how to make conscious choices to embrace, not just, in a song or not just in one little study, but as a lifestyle to practice how the Bible describes humility. And that's what we're going to look at. Paul said I should comment on some of those books. All those books are just sermon series that I've preached over the years. I did train under John MacArthur, and John taught me. I said to John, I said, tell me, if you could explain to me what it is you do, I would love to know. And he says, I'm an explanatory preacher. I said, I know expository, and I know, expositional. What did you say? He said, I'm an explanatory. Kind of reminds me of Lucy. You got some splaining to do, But an explanatory preacher is someone that explains the Bible so you understand it. And I said, I understand that. And so basically, I love to explain the Bible. And to prepare for it, I went to Bob Jones University, kind of a rigorous Marine Corps training camp place, where you have to cut your hair and wear and tuck your shirt in, and all kinds of stuff. But when I was there, my first year, my first professor taught the Bible. He was in his 90s. I'd never heard anybody teach the Bible that way. And I ran up afterward and I said, how did you do that? And he looked at me. He was 90 years old. And he said, son, and you can say that when you're 90 and there's a kid in front of you. He said, when you've read the Bible through at least once for every year you are old, you will start understanding how to explain the Bible. And I went, I'm 19, and I only read the Bible once at 19. To go to Camp Miracle, someone paid me $100. If I would read the Bible, they'd pay for me to go to Camp Miracle. And mercenary-hearted I was, I took it and read the whole Bible, and that was it. And I was 19 in Bible school, preparing to teach the Bible the rest of my life, and I had read it once. And I felt this high in front of that 90-year-old man. And he said, so you need to do something about that. So I sat down and found out it only takes 72 hours to read the whole Bible. Did you know that? You know how I found out? If you buy the Bible on CDs, guess how many there are? They're 1-hour CDs. How many do you think there are? Yeah, there are 18 New Testament CDs and 54 Old Testament CDs. So how long does it take to read the Old Testament? And how many hours does it take to read the New Testament? 18. 18 plus 54 makes 72. There we go. And I went, wow. And I took a little piece of paper, turned it sideways, drew a 168-hour chart, 7 days, 24-hour days, put off every hour that Bob Jones made me do something, sleep, eat, go to classes, and found that I had an immense amount of discretionary time that I spent, at soccer games and basketball games and, reading, the Popular Science and National Geographic and just sitting around doing nothing or the weight room or whatever. And so I decided I can find 72 hours in 1 month that's, 18 hours in the week that I'm just doing nothing in. So I started reading the Bible through once a month. I read the Bible through once a month for years, until I way surpassed my age, because I figured I'm going to lose my sight someday. And when I reached 100 times through, Then I started cutting back and just now casually reading the Bible instead of that, intense 18 hours, every week reading it. That's why I love to explain the Bible, because in my mind it all connects. I mean, it all connects. Did you know the theme of the Bible is the glory of God? The glory of God is all about us humbling ourselves. A humble person wants to do God's will, not their own. What was Satan's great statement that caused his fall? Do you all remember it? It's in Isaiah 14. And he said, I will, I will, I will, I will, I will. Instead of thy will, it's I will. You see, that's the whole choice of life. Is it thy will be done, God, or I will do this? I want this. I will do that. So that's what we're going to look at. This doesn't work. It works on Jeremy's computer, not mine. There we go. Last night we saw that truth number one, that God's glory is to be our goal. Last night we talked about the key to God's attention is humility. If you want to get God's, full attention on your life, humble yourself in His sight. God finds humility irresistible. Pride is at the bottom, at the root of all problems we have. Relational problems, emotional problems. I mean, last night, all those pictures, of all the social media impact that is deepening into our culture, the dysphoria and the dysmorphia and all that stuff. Did you know all that's really rooted at pride? Because we want to manage our life and manage what people think of us and manage the outcome and manage everything. And God says, no, you can't. In fact, when Paul and I were praying, we were reminded this morning that God measures time differently than us. How does God consider a day? It says in the Bible 6 times in a row in the creation account, and the evening and the what? Morning were the what? First day. When does God say a day begins? In the evening, when we go unconscious, when we lay on a bed, when we're helpless, when we can't even keep ourselves awake, when we can't defend ourselves, when, some people go to bed with a gun by them, but, if the person comes in while you're sleeping, you can't use it, you know what I mean? Because you are, and I am helplessly unconscious, making a lot of funny noises, and helplessly unconscious, That's when the day begins. Who's running it? Who's running the day when you're sleeping helplessly unconscious? Guess. God. Who is keeping everything going when you can't? God. That's how the day begins, at night. And then the morning, and we jump out of bed and think, I got to take over. And God says, no, let me run your day, just like I ran your night. And that's what a humble person wants. They say, not my will, not my way, but your will be done. And that's the way to God's attention. And the choice, and this is basically, these are just the 3 things we're going to study in the days ahead. The choice is we want Christ to increase.